let's start, I guess. Okay, so first I want to present our speakers. The first one is Stacia Viscardi. Stacia is the certified Scrum trainer and organizational transformation expert. She's a 62nd Scrum Master, certified Scrum Master in the world. So she's been working with Ken Schroeder. Out of, I don't know. 850,000 days. Yeah. So Stacia is an expert. He's a world-class Agile coach. So and also an author and co-author of several books about Agile and Scrum. So that I can definitely recommend. One of them I've almost completed. Almost. Yeah. The second speaker is Evgeniy Labunskiy, or Zhenya Labunskiy, I would call him. He's also an Agile coach, over 10 years of experience working with different companies, starting from like Hong Kong and all the way to the US. So Evgeniy is also used Scrum when it was not a mainstream, so he's also has some experience using it. And he's been a while in Agile. And since 2015, he's applying Agile in non-IT companies. So, which is, I think, also interesting for everyone because most of you, I know for sure, not from the IT industry. So, and the third speaker is Alexei Sirotyuk. He is our department manager at Sigma Software. He's also leading our Lviv office. He's the head of our Lviv office. And Alexei is certified project management professional and also outsourcing professional. He leads innovations department that is mostly related to such industries like automotive, media, telecom. So if you're interested, you can also ask questions, specific questions to him as well, maybe in the break or something. And me, I'm a moderator. My name is Evgeniy, also Zhenya, you can call me Zhenya. Zhenya Bashinsky, I am the quality director of Sigma Software. I also have some experience with the IT, and I also have some certification. So I have some experience with this subject as well. So I'm gonna be moderating the discussion. So sometimes I will just ask questions and maybe ask someone to do something. Okay, but the main guests are our speakers. So. Before we start, I would like to ask, before I ask the first question to our experts, I'd like to ask the audience, how many of you actually work with Agile now? Can you raise your hands who actually experienced Agile in your life? Okay. I noticed that some of you are hesitant or not sure about that. Okay, so looks like we have quite a few people who doesn't work or don't apply Agile now. So the first question I think would be is how, since we have these amount of people, how would you explain Agile to them, and why do they need to use it? So Stacia first.
Great. Hello everybody, can you hear me? Okay, great. So I've been training for 3 days, and so I'm going to try to get out of the long answer mode and try to be concise. It's a little rough. So switch gears. So thank you all for being here. And it's interesting when I hear the question, how many of you use Agile? To explain it in non-Agile terms, it would be like me asking you, how many of you use health? Or I could ask it, how many of you practice healthy practices, practice healthy values? Many, many of you do. So when we think about Agile, we want to think about a system of thought, a system of values, a way of thinking, a way of behaving, a way of leading. And when I think about what is Agile for the non-Agile person or organization, it is basically a way of building products, delivering services, whether those are IT or otherwise, that's done in a way that we collaborate with the person who has the need, along with the people who can deliver the need. We work very closely together. We work with a set of basic assumptions and basic ideas of deadlines and budgets, because those are business realities. And we work together to collaborate toward an end goal. We do that in a very transparent way, so everything that I might deliver for you is completely visible to you as a customer, and I would love your feedback so that we can co-create the best result together. This was a antithesis or a response to the old way of doing things, which is tell me everything you might possibly want between now and 2 years from now, and I'm going to put together a contract and basically lie to you and tell you when you'll get it and exactly how much I should charge you. And I'm really not going to allow you to make any changes along the way. And you might want to do that because between now and 2 years from now, the world changes, your needs change, your families change, whatever the case is. So Agile, I would basically describe in a nutshell, is it's a statement. It's actually right over there. It's created in 2001 of a set of values that I think the best word I could use today is humbles us. It really gets us thinking about true collaboration and exploration together. And I believe that through that humility and by unlocking creativity of our employees, we can start to think about becoming industry disruptors and creative and thinking outside of the box. I hate that cliche, but you know what I mean. And really trying to deliver a customer experience in a novel way. And so it's really cool seeing Agile, not just in IT these days, but in other industries outside of IT, and people using it for its value proposition, not a methodology. There are many ways to deliver value. So sorry if that's a little long-winded or a little philanthropic, but that's where my mind is today.
Yes, Thank you. So someone else?
Yeah, I will probably continue with the microphone. I will use the same excuse as you. I'm running the class for 3 days. I will not have a lot of words.
We know.
I want to get back to this first question you actually Evgeniy asked. Who is actually using Agile right now, or believe they're using Agile? Could you please raise the hands again? I will not ask like the killer questions. So why do you use it? Just shoot. We are doing it for
To set up new habits and other.
to set up the new habits. What else?
Maybe because it's natural to use it.
Oh,
What else?
Because it's a constant response to change.
Constant response to change. Is anyone here is transitioning to Agile? Why are you transitioning to Agile?
The world are changing, and we have to react to the change. And we have to look to the future.
Yes.
Nobody knows at this moment
What's gonna be? And basically, if your organization is required to be adaptable, changeable for the external market, being like the organism, right? The Agile probably is a good tool for you. And under Agile, I understand like the common sense and the mindset, not the toolkit like Scrum, Kanban. That's like the second level. It might be like another way of setting up organization, adaptive organization, right? So, if you would like in the continuously changing complex world, adapt to the changes, and like you would like your organization to not feel pain when everything is changing, that's probably your way. If you're managing some other strategy, I don't know, everything is your world is sustainable. For example, maybe you are building the house, or maybe you are dealing with some very simple stuff. You probably maybe don't need Agile in the essence, right? So we are trying to deal with the continuously growing complexity with Agile toolkit, and I believe that that's why your business is Agile. If you're dealing with other problem, probably you need some other toolkit.
no, that's a good answer. Thanks, Evgeniy. Alexei.
Yeah, hello, and thanks for coming today. I'm just thinking, those who don't do Agile, what do you do? So, I like the general questions, it's hard to answer and it's always you have to think over, but I'm thinking how to call something else. Is it a classical way of doing things or anyway, how I would put it like this, being Agile is coming to more adaptive ways of work from prescriptive ones. For this, you of course should know how the things works in your industry, be professional so that you can cut corners, not losing quality and everything. And it's all about tools you use, about people interaction and ways how they should interact with each other, and processes and their adaptation. So it's about processes, tools, and people interaction.
Thank you, Alexei. Anyone wants to respond to each other?
Actually, I just want to add,
Yeah.
I remember we made a conference at Agile Rock back in September, and I ran actually the same panel discussion with the Agile coaches. And there was the question, if Agile conference rock, so it's like sounds rock, right? What's the music of Agile conference? It's rock. So what's the music for waterfall conference? Right, it looks like it's classical music, right? So
It's like water.
It's like it's in the water, the music under the water. So yeah.
Yeah. What else can you hear? Or can you listen to other than rock? Right? That's what I want to say.
Why rock? Why rock and not jazz? Jazz
Oh.
Jazz.
is better for adapting to the team that you are playing with.
The problem is none of us playing jazz. So
We're just yeah, we're not at that level. We also
but I would say yes. It's might be jazz is better.
Do you have the questions about this question? About these questions? Any follow up? Okay. So yeah, let's move on maybe to our other questions, and yeah, I would like to ask you this one. So Agile is usually associated with the IT industry, so it's usually like IT-owned thing. So in your opinion, is it applicable in other areas, in other businesses? And if so, why? Why do you think so? And maybe there are some exceptions as well. Stacia, maybe.
Thank you for the question, and I might be a biased responder. I think I've been practicing this for 16 years, not just as a trainer, but as a coach, and I can see just about any application for it. There's a Connect-In diagram, there's the Ralph Stacey diagram that says, you know, Agile should be done in certain complex domains, and I think that's interesting. I also spoke with a couple of those guys who created those fancy diagrams, and they said that there's one wild card, regardless of how simple or how complex the environment is, and that's people. People are never 100% predictable. We all have ambitions, we all have emotions, all that soft stuff, that's part of who we are. And so I think that even in simple situations, maybe I'm running a HR operations department or business as usual for, you know, financial application, where it's just, you know, kind of widget in, widget out sort of situation. I still think Agile can be applicable if we look at it again as a system of thought and not a set of methods to say, you know, how can we improve this? How can we take Agile's sister school of thought called Lean, and how can we get better at what we do? How can we remove waste? How can we remove handoffs and defects? How can we use better tools, push our department in different novel, creative ways, and use Agile again as a system of thought and not a tool. So I believe it's useful for anything. I have planned vacations using Agile with my family. It was really great because the kids got to be up at the board and planning the things they wanted to do, so it wasn't just the adults, it was a whole team approach. I used Agile, I'm actually using it right now to manage the purchase of a new home, just to keep track of all the things that need to be done and all the different groups and departments who are doing them. I used Agile in the most complex and innovative work with patent design teams, as well as with museums to set up exhibitions. So Agile is absolutely, again, if you look at it as a system of values, it's applicable to anything. Who doesn't want to deliver value? We're all in business to do that. People working together probably are going to unlock great ways of delivering value. We want to work with our customers to collaborate and understand their needs and then be able to be responsive. That applies to anything in business. If we're not in business and we don't care about our customers, or then maybe not. We could look at some other system, but I don't see it in the way, frankly.
Yeah, thanks. So maybe Alexei?
That's hard to add something to the speech. One more day we still should train. So I would answer next. So that's the principles of common sense, right? Kind of. You may use them in your daily life, whatever you want. So it's applicable everywhere. I would say any organization require kind of expect and adopt and feedback loops inside. Even if you don't plan to use Agile in the particular meaning of the values, frameworks, and stuff around this. So basically, as Stacia told, Agile is based on the lean principles. So probably you have to start with something more deeper than just applying Agile. I saw a lot of companies that didn't have any management toolkit applied at all because they just working. I'm saying this intuitively. So they just doing the work, there are a lot of the tasks, the people taking care about the work, and that's working somehow. So then they arrive and say, okay, we need Agile. So, but they actually didn't leave the learning inside the organization, how it might be built in another toolkit. So there's some jump into some advanced level, start to apply like open-minded. It says individuals in direction over processing tools. There have been no processing tools at all in their organization before. So everyone did just what they want. There was no comprehensive documentation. There is no documentation at all. So they've been, how to say, completely agile. Full-scale agile. But nothing works. So they complain that nothing works and the job is just not running through the system. So first of all, they have to organize their own work inside and understand how to work the classical way of management, the stuff inside, trying to get all of the pieces together. Then when they survive this, make this life, it's like, when you start jumping directly to the university without finishing the school. Right? So they have to finish the school and then to jump to some advanced toolkit, like understand the agile mindset and apply additional practices, be open-minded, speak. So because it should be on some basement, and if you don't have a basement, it's very hard to apply. I should stop, right? So,
yeah, that's like a sign. Yeah, thanks, Evgeniy.
I would say, first of all, not all processes are iterative, and Agile is more or less about, it's okay. Yeah, Agile is more or less about iterations, and you can run, for example, giving a birth to a child iteratively, you can do some other things iteratively. Can you be Agile in this process? I'm not sure. There's a set of principles on which Agile is based on, and in some industries there are specifics which make it hard to apply Agile. You might know that standard compliance or regulatory compliance is also not an iterative process. You may know that constant communication in huge teams is a mess, so you can't apply it when you have thousands of people doing something, or it requires some other methods. Also, I would mention that some organizations and some business domains, they involve people of different capabilities and experience and expertise, which they just don't understand each other if you look at a hierarchy. So hierarchies also predict using some of the ways of work and principles which can be applied. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't use or you shouldn't try using it, maybe not as a holistic process, but you can apply some sort of tools or techniques or principles in different areas. If you imagine a delivery process which requires like 50 steps, it may happen that you can apply and improve some of them, but some of them are just not adaptive and can be transformed to agile ways of working, where you have this strict and where you have predict everything that will happen there or plan precisely.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. So basically not all businesses, right? Can you concept that?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I just rolled off recently an Agile coaching opportunity with a biopharmaceutical, which is definitely not what you would consider very agile. And so the time to value for a new pharmaceutical drug in the States is about 10.2 years. That has actually sped up from 12 over the past 5 years, so we're seeing some decrease in cycle time here. And I ran into this regulatory issue there, as you can imagine, and was working with teams who were working on validated systems, which go through a whole set of testing processes that it's quite a journey. It's like being the Hobbit and going on a big journey. So it was quite fraught with challenges. And what I learned was that the validated testing processes were from 10 years ago. And so I started talking with teams, and then I started talking with auditors, and started talking with business QA, who's in charge of the compliance auditing. And we got together and we put our heads together and we said, okay, what does in the US the FDA say about this sort of testing? And we looked at this really a one-page summary, and it turns out that the testing practices are actually quite translatable. You can meet the need in many different ways. And so we started talking about that and realizing that we could actually be, not all the way, but better today than we were a year ago, quite a bit more iterative and incremental with the audit practices in getting our auditors to come to sprint reviews, getting our auditors to help us figure out a way to do incremental user acceptance testing, whereas in the past you could only do it every 9 months. So we found little insights by just getting together and saying, you know what, we can put people on the moon. I said today we can put Teslas on Mars, but I think they just went into orbit, whatever that joke was. We can do all of these amazing things. I'm sure we can figure out an improvement in this area. And so again, it isn't that it's completely agile. It isn't that we can't ignore those things. Those are absolutely important constraints. But I bet if we get the right people in the room, we can find ways to be innovative. And innovation is not having the next Tesla or the next awesome phone or the next, whiz-bang wearable technology. It could just be a slight tweak in process that gives us a little bit of an edge. And those little bits of edges add up over time. And I think that, unfortunately, we sometimes think some things can't be changed, but I think we're only limited by our thoughts, or today's thoughts on that. So I recommend you challenge your people and your teams, and maybe it's just a small thing. Those small things happen.
I would add a bit to pharmacy experience because I have the pharmacy experience in Ukraine with a European company that's actually selling pharmacy and pretty expensive pharmacy. So they came as we would like to be agile, and there is really a big purpose there because, for example, the pilot product they selected for being agile is the adding medicine to the government buying list. So there are some of the medicine the government buy and centralize it because they're so much expensive that you cannot afford them. So of course, like every big company would like to be in this list because that's $1 million contract. And like you cannot just come to the government and say, hey guys, could you please add us to this list? So you need to prove that your medicine are better than the other medicines around the world, and it's worth better. And you cannot prove it by telling what's the medicine you are selling. So there is the regulation, you should prove it without selling to the customers the medicine. So there are so many experiments, so many different conferences, so many people should be engaged who given yes to this medicine before it's going to be included. And there's so many ways of doing this, but it's pretty challenging to do this in department setup. You need to have a team that's continuously working on this product, continuously trying to understand what is going to be the next step forward. So that's a great example in the pharmacy of Agile approach. That's not actually pure Scrum, so they didn't use a lot of the things from Scrum, but the way they set it up, the work and the way they are working together is actually very Agile.
What did they use?
That's something. That's been a mix. Some of the toolkit from Scrum, they actually used the sprints. There was 2-week sprints. They made the retro.
Regulations.
Yes.
Okay.
2-week sprints. Every 2-week sprints, they made the scope like launch this community or define this like practice group around the medicine or discussion club around the medicine. There was the clear definition of done for each task. What does it mean? We completed this job in the sprint. There was the retro cycles and there was the small planning. It was not like the IT planning. It was a pretty small planning, and they used one physical board for managing their stuff. That's it.
If I could add to that, I think,
And to this microphone.
yes, thank you. What you described, and Alexei, what you described is really stripping away the pomp and circumstance and rigor and large departments, and just distilling value delivery down to a few key people who, if you will, lock themselves in a room and figure it out. And we give them every opportunity, every possibility to be successful. We don't penalize them for experiments that don't pay off, and this is part of learning. We give them everything to be successful, and we seeing a trend where larger organizations are either breaking down into smaller organizations formally or informally to be able to support the very simplistic, just get it done mindset. There's nothing more, well, maybe there are more important things, but it's very important to deliver the most important things the fastest so that we can understand the impact and pivot. And so I think companies are starting to figure this out a bit, and I think what you described is really another good example of it. So.
That's important when we are saying yes, but there was no change of the mindset in a second, right? So I would say we have tried the other way of working together, because the change of the mindset, it took some time, right? So you cannot do it like this just because you are in the same room. We have like a very lightweight process for Agile in non-IT if you have nothing to do with IT at all. So we call it 1 to 3 Agile. One is 1 to 3 Agile. So one, you need to sit in the same room. Two, you need to have one board with visualization of your task. Whatever board it is, it might be just a pool of the stickers with something. It might be to do in progress done. It might be the Kanban board, whatever. And you should have some kind of ritual to work with this board. So you should sometimes, doesn't mean every day, but sometimes, once in a week, twice in a week, you should start working with this board, deciding what's going on there from all of the tasks you're doing right now. It's kind of the first step, very light, to start any transition to kind of agile mindset in any company.
So let's move on with the next question. Is actually, it's about transitioning to agile. So if the organization decides to transition to go to the agile, how do they start? What are the typical mistakes?
Okay, that's actually relates to this question because I want to start the answer next way. To start the transition to agile, you need to have a sense of urgency. You actually need to understand why you are doing this. It might be that the situation on the market changes significantly and you cannot behave like you behaved before. I don't know, maybe your competitors start making something like you didn't predict and you would like to be as adaptive as they are. Or might be that's, I don't know, crisis in your organization and you're stuck with the work. So if you are a factory, you need to understand what's the problem you're trying to solve with Agile. Agile is solving the problem of customer value delivery, people delivering customer value. If it's not your problem, probably you need to find another tool. Like lean manufacturing is especially a good tool for the factory. So maybe they don't need a agile tool. Maybe they can use a Kanban. And there are some of the examples. I cannot tell the exact name of the factories in Ukraine who's asked for the Kanban coaching and start implementing Kanban in the factory. It's kind of agile toolkit, right? So first of all, you need to have a sense of urgency. You need to understand what's the problem you're trying to figure out with Agile. Maybe it does change your ideas and you're not going to use Agile at all. You're going to use holacracy. Who knows? Secondly, all of the transformation should go both ways. It's top-down, bottom-up. So you cannot do any transformation without the management support, unfortunately. If it's go top-down and bottom-up, whom you think are in the middle? Under press. That's middle managers, right? So you have to deal with the middle managers and try to explain them what their job in the agile organization will be, because they're actually making the most of the resistance to change overall in the organization. Because the top managers would like to have everything faster. one small thing about the top managers. Most of the top managers understand Agile after reading the Red Book of Sutherland, where they wrote, do twice more in a half of the time. So they expect you to do twice more in a half of the time. That's like, doesn't mean you will actually do this, right? So it's a book about if you're making the holes and not understanding you're making the holes for the trees. Maybe you need to make something else, right? That's the optimization. You start making your job more valuable. You need to explain to top managers what does it mean being agile and what is the change in current organization to agile organization. They still may think that they can be in the same structure, making agile, that's not true at all. So the agile transformation requires a significant change in the way organizations work, even from a structural perspective. Because the structure will cause the other culture. Structure eats culture on the breakfast. So you cannot make the new culture with the old structure, right? You will have the same old shit. Then in the bottom, people need to understand what you expect from them and what the mindset need to be changed, what the new mental models you bring into the system. So that's two important things. Top down, bottom up. Explain managers what does it mean. They have to buy it. They have to believe in this. If top manager doesn't believe in the changes, you will not change anything. That's we sometimes call it agile theater. So everyone is doing retrospectives, but nothing is changing. Teams in the bottom need to understand another behavioral model, and I would suggest you to start with kind of the piloting. So do not change everything in once. Not go in revolution, go in evolution, start with one team, learn from it, launch another team, learn from it, launch 3 teams, learn from them, start to organize them in kind of module, understand how this works, how this organization level works, then add more, and it doesn't mean that the whole organization should use Scrum at the end, or being fully converted to Kanban or Scrum or whatever else, right? So you actually make it to some degree, but actually mean that the whole organization need to have the agile mindset because they will not be able to work with this brand new teams.
How to make sure that everybody is on the same page when they introduce agile, because everybody has their view of the agile.
You need to observe your system in dynamic, so you need to look how the system actually behaves. Most of you have goals from the top managers, but actually when you take a look how the system behaves, it's not the same goals, right? So they're actually following some other agenda. You need to understand that the purpose of the system is its behavior. So as soon as you understand how your behavior is changing, there is the movement of the purpose of the organization. So you need to set what's the organization you would like to build at the end and track the progress of the change to this, right?
So maybe someone else wants to address this question?
When I look at Agile, I see it as just another approach of doing things, which may be very efficient. And the first thing when you start working with it, which probably you should be careful and you should avoid, is to avoid feeling of false simplicity. I already mentioned in the beginning that it's something when you move from prescriptive ways of work to adaptive ways of work, which means that you have less formalities to do, you are being fast and efficient, you focus on the value, but this also means that you should know everything what's behind it. You should still apply valid tools, valid processes, you should do the right thing whenever it is needed. And if it may be easier for me to explain it, because I'm coming from IT, on the IT business, but you can try to map it to your business. For example, if you take a project manager who is responsible for IT project development, when he takes a book about Scrum and read a Agile manifesto and read a book which explains that you should build it in this way, you should meet on a daily basis, you should discuss things and so on, you should have cross-functional team. There's a lot of other things which you should do or might need to do during the project development. Most agile books, Scrum books, whatever, they don't tell about how you do your business. So you should be an expert in your business domain. You should know how things work and apply right things at the right time. That's what will make your agile application efficient and will let you to avoid problems. When going back to the question itself, starting, yeah, as you said, you can do it bottom up or both directions. Here it's important to mention some cultural specific. In different countries we people are different and we apply different ways of work over decades, hundreds of years actually. Lifestyle is different. For our country, for Ukraine, from what I see is still that command and control style of management is still prevalent in most industries. And it actually sometimes restricts application of agile principles, restricts from moving fast, and maybe if we start from up-down, here I would say it should start from a company manager or any level of manager actually, who should apply not a command and control style of leadership, but rather being a leader, which is harder, which was always a part of a job of any manager actually. But for example, it wasn't very popular, or at least in our country, to develop specific skills required for that, how to motivate people to contribute, how to motivate people to see the goal and bring value to the process, to raise a hand, not to feel a power distance with their management, being able to contribute to the whole process and see results of their work. So this is something I would start with, is thinking how can you give your people empowerment to and understanding how they can help you to solve your problem and allow them to do it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Thanks. Still, well, I think quite a few questions actually appeared there. I think we'll get back to them a little bit later. I'm not sure if they're related to this particular topic, but we'll definitely address them. Yeah, if you have any questions, just post it and raise your hand. It's very easy. Yeah, another question. I would like to ask actually this one. So there's another aspect of Agile that might be misunderstood by business, which is transparency. Right? And this is actually what business expects, the transparency. And in a changing environment in Agile, how do you reach that level of transparency that management and leadership accept without overheads, without management overheads, without supervision, and so forth? So how do you reach that transparency? How do you do transparency in the Agile?
That's the question.
Yeah, I think you can answer first.
If we are using, let's say, Scrum, we actually, by using this toolkit, we are trying to decrease the feedback cycle.
Mm-hmm.
So we are trying to make more feedback cycles for people to understand what we are doing. For example, sprint reviews, that's a good point where you can invite any stakeholders. If you have, let's say, 15 teams running Scrum in your organization, let them do all of the events in one day. So, for example, every Monday the sprint starts, in 2 weeks, every Friday the sprint ends. Then you can make a demo day every Friday. You can make a demo bazaar, for example. So that's like you book different meeting rooms in your organization. People just can walk around the office and join different sprint reviews in a different time. That's really cool exercise. That's really inspiring. You can make a demo days or system demo days, like once in a quarter for the big audience. You can use the information radiators. Information radiators, it's any physical representation of progress of the work or any information you are trying to spread in the world. For example, that's the information radiators from our Scrum training, Scrum board, sprints,
You mean
topics.
that
You see,
with the
we're
figures?
dealing with waterfall in the fifth sprint.
I'm not sure what you're referring to. I mean, those are with the
That's to
stickers.
yes, the
Yeah.
stickers. So that's our backlog for the training we are posting here. So we're making people understand what's going to be next, right, in the pipeline of the learning. Also, the good one. So the more physical representation you have in the office of the job the people are doing, the better it is. There is the good example I usually give in the 70th years of previous century. There was the crisis with oil, you remember? One of the government decided to check how efficient is the housekeeping. So they actually found out that the houses where the counter for electricity was not in the rooms, so it's been hidden somewhere, uses 30% more electricity. Just because people do not see the counter. And you remember this, it's spinning, right? You turn on the heat in the building, and it starts spinning faster. You turn on, I don't know, like more lights, and it starts spinning even more faster. So you check it, you start turning off the light, right? So the information, visual one, actually push people to understand the common picture. There is another example we made in one bank. So there is kind of transformation of the project office department start using Kanban, and the guys there said that they know their process very well.
By the way, do everyone understand what Kanban means? You
Okay.
understand, everyone?
Yeah.
Because yeah. Because Kanban is basically the system of representing the workflow through these cards that you put from one to another. So basically, the whole flow is there, like that.
That's just so you have a flow and you have the visual representation of the flow. So actually, when we start building the flow with the people there, they told they know the flow very well. So everyone on the same page as they told. We have it documented, and I asked, okay, could you please every one of you just build it on a paper and show it to others. They built 10 different flows that's been documented before. So that's kind of the alignment between everyone, how the system actually works. So the more alignments, visual representations you have, the better it is.
Yeah. Alexei, do you want?
What was the question?
How do you reach transparency in changing
The question was something how to avoid overhead when.
Yeah.
And well, I would say that you can't avoid overhead to reach a transparency. It is something you should put effort to, at least in the environment where I work, where teams are distributed, where the customers on the other side of the world. You can hardly imagine that lots of families trust like a wife trusts her husband when he's away for a month or something. Why would your customer trust you, or a teammate, or whatever? If you are far away, when you don't know what you are doing and how you do it. It's easy to do if you are in the same room. You have full transparency. But when you are far away, some overhead which is required to reach the transparency and to prove what you're doing at any given moment, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, is something that you should put into it so that it works and you build trust and good relations with each other. Over time, you can reduce the amount of overhead you are putting into it. But at the very beginning, when you need to collaborate, especially with remote people, you have to do some extra things like extra reports, even though Agile doesn't require you to put effort into reporting or something. You need to have some performance indicators. You have to describe what you do to affect them and show how it feels. Unfortunately, this is required for some period of time, at least until you know each other well, and even when you know each other well, but you are far away.
Especially when you know each other. That we want to say.
I'm not sure that we can fully avoid management overhead or any sort of overhead to reach transparency. If you want to do something, you have to put effort into it. Same as transparency. If you want to reach transparency, you have to put extra effort to reach it.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks.
I could just add to that, the most important transparency we can make is the state of our systems and services. How well are they done? How's the quality? How well are our customers receiving it and responding to it? And for companies that have been around for a long time and have very legacy toolkits and infrastructure, this can be very costly. It takes an investment. But any company takes an investment over time to modernize, to have the right platforms in place. It's probably more costly to not understand the impact of what we've delivered and how that's been received. So I agree. I think we don't get something for nothing, at least in most cases in life. And so I think this is another area where if we tap into the collective wisdom of our teams, our technical resources, people, not resources, but people, and understand ideas to make this simpler and to leverage them, I think we can maybe lower that cost. But I think there's no cost more important than no investment more important than that. So if we're in a newer company, we're already modern in our infrastructure, but at some point that will need investment. So.
Yeah. Thanks. Do you have anything else? Guys, do you have any questions? I don't see any questions there.
Oh,
It doesn't look like it's.
Just a second.
Oh, yeah, you okay.
Just a second, let me give you the mic.
Yeah.
I can
You can't speak. We can't hear you.
Nazar's been with us since
I
9
wanted
o'clock
to-
this morning.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that transparency actually needs courage and sense of safety. From, for example, from team's perspective, to be transparent, he or she, any team member, must be sure that he won't be blamed for the failure. Otherwise, he or she will be forced to hide his failure, and we will have no transparency.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, but
Thanks.
if you hide your failure, that's not fine for me. You not in any way.
Could you give him a mic? I can't hear you.
I mean, I'm a developer. I have a developer experience, and I work on large place where fail is not blamed. So what I find out is when we involve new developers in our teams, they fear, they don't understand this philosophy in the beginning, and they fear to show that they are wrong or they are making mistakes. But at some point, we find them out because when you are developing or using something that has been developed by someone else, sooner or later you will find out if there are some problems. And when those problems came out, maybe in the late period, it's worse than if that person will say, hey, I have a problem, I don't know how to figure it out, or maybe they have a mess. And the extended team will have to solve that specific problem in the short time possible. I mean, using Agile methodology is for this reason is one of the best outcome in my experience of using Agile for developer purpose. So yeah, depends on the mindset, but problems will come out in any way, maybe in some worse way in the future. So, this is my opinion.
Yeah, it's very good actually. Thanks.
I just want to add a bit. Actually, today's organization, large one, they have a big fear of fail because the cost of mistake is fantastic. That's why you need to run around the whole organization asking for permission of doing some stuff, because everyone is like don't want to give their yes because they know that might be something happen that will crash the whole organization to the bottom. And that's why they're trying to run around and get all of the permissions better in written mode, right? So with Agile Toolkit, we are trying to get this price lower and lower and lower and lower, and the best team can fail maximum for one sprint, right? So you failed now, you fix in another sprint your failure. I'm not talking about the production failures, but
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
that's important. To
that's important. Yeah,
So we're not talking failing like in front of
everyone else, да.
losing money.
Yeah.
It's like
You can fail in a very controlled environment.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's like probably the third or fourth time when they sort of recommending you to embrace the failure and fail forward. I just want to add that, for example, we are trying to build relations within our team and department in a way that, yeah, you are okay to fail, but you should also realize that the responsibility for the failure is our shared responsibility, so that we need to reach the goal no matter what. It will require extra effort if you go in the wrong direction, but it doesn't mean that you can just fail and that's okay to fail. You should, well, maybe not you should, that's probably what I think is good to do, is to show that failure is okay, to help people to overcome them, but still make sure that they also feel their responsibility for making things done, no matter if they fail or not. If they fail in one direction, they should go to another one, but they should finish what they were doing, and you can help them. And you will need to put extra effort, both people and you, when helping them, but they should feel also responsibility and ownership and failing.
One small thing, so we like to fail fast, right? So that's also important, because I saw thousands of examples like this. There is a project running for the years, then it fails, and every participant goes, we know that that's gonna fail.
Thanks for telling us.
Thanks for telling us. Year after. So why didn't tell you 9 months and 10 months before? Oh well, we wanna see how it goes.
Yeah. Yeah. So my next question is, I think it's like a follow-up on the question that has been raised already. This is that since Agile is the philosophy that embraces changes, but business and clients especially wants predictability, plans, commitments from you, and so forth. It's difficult to achieve that changeability. So when you face this client, this sort of client, either it's internal or external, what would you do? What are your advices? So maybe we'll start with Alexei, because he's an outsourcing professional, basically, even with lots of customers.
It's a very long discussion.
So far, is it?
It's about how to be agile and work on this fixed price and everything.
Yeah.
But again, there are like some master processes which exist at different industries and different organizations, and you sometimes don't have to apply agile ways of work at all levels of the organization, and it may be even beneficial to keep classical phase gate process on the top level, because working in a strict and predictable way according to deadlines and milestones may also be your instrument to push for the things which you require to get from your customers, and sometimes even if they say that they accept regular sync ups and they will deliver, they just don't. And you have to be formal and having a strict process on top of day-to-day operation may be necessary. And you can apply in day-to-day operations, you can apply agile ways of work. Another thing is that you anyway will need to give some promises or take some obligations or forecast when you will do what in some formally. In IT business, when we are starting project, we put it into description of risks or assumptions, which we also discuss openly with customer and say that this might be the reason to change. And you can still apply Agile process to deliver something, but there are some external things which can change, and then you can raise the whole change request. Yeah. But you have to somewhat commit. You have to guarantee the delivery, and it becomes especially hard when you scale your project, when you have like 200 people working on a project. Multiple teams, and you still have to deliver at some specific date according to some other constraint. So I would assume that in different industries there are different mechanisms which allow it to reach this goal and which allow to secure yourself from also obligations which you cannot fulfill. The agile way of doing it probably will also be to take a risk and agree, in this case, with your team that we have this goal, we potentially may need to put either extra effort or reduce things, but that's what is necessary for some purpose. We need to just commit right now on this. So you feel that you want to achieve this goal, you feel that it's a sort of kamikaze goal and project or something, but then the only thing you can do is to agree with those who are in the same boat with you that what you do, and that you all realize that it won't go well. You just want to face the challenge and you will find a way to solve it.
Thanks. I hope we just don't do it in our company.
Right.
Setting kamikaze clients in front of customers.
Actually, I would ask customers who want everything predicted to try to check in the other universe. That might be something more sustainable there. But that's of course a joke, right? But overall, we cannot predict anything in the world. Fairly saying. Another way someone should predict the 2008 crisis in banking in the US, but no one did it. Just a couple of guys made money on this, right? Basically, they tried to show the system to everyone, and no one actually told it there, right? So those, there's a film about it, right? But actually, I spent 6 years working in outsourcing with different customers on fixed price, time and material, running Agile. I believe when you run in Scrum, you actually make customer understand that his predictability is actually in his hands, and the customer can change whatever he wants if you actually collaborate with him, not making you and the customers on two sides of the ocean. So as soon as you start bringing him involved in your meetings, involved in your daily life, everything gonna be much better. If you're saying we are here running our Scrum, there's the customer out there, we are shipping him twice in a month, every 2 weeks, and he should work with us. That's kind of the way it usually works.
Yeah, okay, thanks. That's true.
Just a little to add. I think it's always important to ask clients, even if they seem very fixed, what's the likelihood that you might want something different or that you might change your mind? And would you want us to share key insights that we have with you if we find ways to save money, or if we run into new enabling technologies, or perhaps we run into trouble? Would you like us to hide that from you, or would you like us to be open? And most of the time they're going to say, yeah, we might change our minds, and yeah, we really would like some insights or some, key discoveries. And so then we say, okay, well, this fixed price, fixed universe contract that we have, could we add a small clause in there that we do our best with the forecast, we do our best with budget, and that we stay in routine contact so that if something does go wrong or if we learn something, we can reflect that as soon as we know it. And most of the time, people are willing to do that. It's advantageous on both sides. Everything in Agile is intended to be transparent. I know I've spoken quite a bit philosophically about Agile this evening. However, it is quite disciplined, and that's important. And so I think that with that combination, that's important. One other quick note, as an independent contractor, consultant, I have to write contracts. It's the thing I hate the most. I just don't like it. But it's a requirement in the business world. And I found that a competitive differentiator for me as a small consultancy against the big ones, the Accentures and I'll leave the others unnamed, but the big consultancies, is that I don't force my clients into the fixed bid contracts that they think they want. They'll say, we need 7 coaches for the next year. And I would say, well, I'd love to lie to you and tell you that's what you need, but I think you can start with 1 or 2. And then we can go for a couple of months and we can assess and see where we are. And then based on our backlog that we co-create, you can decide if you'd like a couple more. Or 7 at that point. We'll have a better understanding. And so what I found is that that's actually been, I'm not a salesperson either, but that's become a selling point, and the customers end up much happier for it. I end up much happier. It provides me slack and flexibility, so I'm not tied down to a situation for a year when it might not work out for me either. I can move on and go to something that's more advantageous to both of us. So what I found is actually in a situation that is usually very fixed bid and predictive, I found that it's actually been working to not be that way. And ultimately, we choose our clients. So if the client relationship isn't mutually beneficial, and we're being forced into situations that we might not otherwise want, it's maybe something we should think about.
Thanks, Stacia. So, yeah.
This is Stacia, great example actually. This is also a way which we sometimes apply. There's always someone who is paying for the work you do. And even if you are Agile, you are working on Scrum or whatever, someone expects some result for some money, or at some point to receive the revenue back from the return of investment, getting their money back and getting some profit. In some projects, in some initiatives, there's a person who is eager to spend some amount of money, as you say, like having 7 consultants, but actually, what will happen at the end is that if you put 7 consultants there, or if you spend all of $100,000 that you have for this project, and you don't reach a goal, that's where you start getting problems. Vice versa, if you do a part of it, if you you verify a hypothesis, or you see early that you go in the wrong direction, you will still have like budget for 5 consultants or some remaining part of the budget to change the course and to move into another direction.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Just nodding to the previous speaker. What I really can commit to when I've been working in outsourcing, you're responsible for the end result of your client, because customer came to you for your experience. Unfortunately, for the last 50 years, you're making the fuel station, and the customer came to you and said, okay guys, I want to have a fuel station. And you said, probably need $1 million for opening. And then you spend $1 million, you didn't open the fuel station, and the customer was not informed about this, and he didn't participate in anything, and you made his money under. That's probably your problem and your failure, and that's not failure of the Scrum or customer or Agile or whatever else.
So in the States, especially for government contracts and large government construction contracts, all of the contractors are required to submit fixed bid situations, and the government's required to go with the lowest bidder. So everybody bids low, they get the contract, and then they just keep billing on change controls. And it's a dirty, not really so much of a secret, it's just the way it works. And then projects end up at cost inflation of over 10 times, at least. So, it's just, it's horrible. Yeah, so, it's about time we change that, because who ends up paying for that? So, anyways, I won't get on a political rant, heaven forbid, from the US, we're not gonna go there.
Can you go up?
Sasha, should
Can you scroll up? Where's the laptop actually? Maybe I can do that. So the next question. Oh yeah, the next question is from Andy Moody. That's nice last name. What if people working in teams have actually an agile mindset but not aware of the tools? What the top 3 tools that would be available?
It really depends on the context and what
maybe
you're
we can
trying
ask
to add.
the author.
Andrei Mudry, could you please?
I have a general answer.
You
You need to use best tools.
That's the best answer.
Actually, you can limit tools which you require to reach the success to 3 or 4 or some amount of them. You have to be aware and know which tools are used for what, and then you need to apply them in the right time. In management, in project management, there's so many related areas which are interconnected, which are dependent sometimes, and each includes multiple tools which you need to apply. You need to know about them to be able to apply them immediately. Also, the word tool itself maybe requires clarification here, because it might be different in different industries. Like a hammer, is it a tool or not? And if you are working in a gas station, like I know somewhere, and you have a hammer, is it a tool? They work. So how could you rank? What do you mean by tools?
Let's rephrase it the 2 approaches. Anyway, you could have a large, vast tool set, but then you would need to incrementally improve, and there are first steps of so let's say approaches or ways to help the team identify they have actually the agile mindset, so that they could evolve self-organized.
Trying to figure out. Maybe it's not trying yet. But yeah.
Each tool should follow some problem you're trying to figure out with this tool. Without understanding the problem, we may suggest to you use the hammer and use the glass and use the bottle. That might be the best tool. But really, you need to understand the problem behind it, so what we're trying to figure out.
Rephrasing, what's your starting toolkit? The usual starting
Visual
toolkit.
board.
Visual board 1.
Then it depends. The good answer, it depends.
Okay.
I think the visual board can then help you identify what you need in a tool. Yes, I completely agree with you.
Yeah. So the visual board, top 3.
Top 3. Visual board and board visual.
Yeah. 3 visual boards. You have to have 3 visual boards.
And if you decide to go with Jira, okay.
Get rid of it.
Well, so a lot of companies do, and it's probably definitely one of the top 3 agile management tools. Just be careful with the admin that they don't get on the same board for everybody. It's so configurable, and teams need flexibility. Everybody's fluent in this side.
Jira admins are even more expensive than Agile coaches.
The tool itself is actually quite cheap. So, but yeah, I would definitely start with the visual boards.
Okay. What's the next question? I'm sorry. I see
My
that.
client wanted to launch.
No, it's have you ever? That's actually what you've been answering. So, have you ever dealt with a case where culture, business structure, now aligning agile transformation? Have you actually? Do you have this experience?
I could briefly touch this.
Yeah, we've done this. Yeah.
Maybe let's.
It's on the remote.
Already.
Okay. Did we answer this question during the whole discussion or not?
Well, there was actually the question was just because we touched it,
Mm-hmm.
but I was more interested to bring to
To
talk.
hear
Case
real
study,
case.
some real case studies, but I could sacrifice that question to any other.
Because Stacia was talking about this pharmaceutical company experience.
Yeah, that was asked.
I would add a bit. Most of the external consultant came to the company that's not allowed from the beginning being agile.
To some extent,
That's
yeah.
exactly right.
So any company is calling us is not agile from scratch because another way they will not call us. There are some, like in my life, it's about 5 to 10% of the companies who is actually running agile. They are asking you to come and bring some new ideas to their environment, but it's really rarely. Most of the time, it's a huge enterprise, never been agile, would like to be agile.
What is the percentage of success? Successful stories and failed one.
That's a tricky question for a coach.
That's really hard to say because no. I will answer. I need to add a bit of the context. What do we understand of the fail, right? Because
Fails transformation or not?
but like the way where you are doing the transformation, the goal is actually may change,
Yeah, this is
right? I have the example, the plane story I've told, right? It's actually been a fail because at the end they've told we would like to do another way like we did before. So the customer told, no, the fail was in the next. The guy who is dealing with all of the planes, the chief engineer, told he doesn't enjoy it, gonna do another way around, and he don't give a shit what the top management is saying. And the top manager said, this guy is most important in this world for us, because he is the one, and if he leave organization, everything will be destroyed. So thank you for your help, we're gonna do it by ourselves. That's one of the examples of total fail, right? Sometimes, I could not say the names, right? But there are the organizations that starting the transformation, everything is going okay, and there is the guys who is guiding the transformation inside, because that's very important that you guide the transformation inside by yourself. If it's only external coach who is guiding everything, that's fail from the early beginning. So there should be the guys inside who is driving the flow. And sometimes,
Okay, finish your thought.
answer the question.
yes. So sometimes the fails are the people who is driving an organization left it, and everything is stopped. And been once in my life like this.
Just a small thing to add. If we look at an agile transformation with an outcome of enhancing a business's agility, the ability to pivot based on some sort of stimuli or feedback, we probably in most cases can make some kind of improvement. There's been one situation where I was not able to help the organization make much improvement. We did a little, but I would probably call it a failure. And it's not because of Agile, it's not because of the people. It's the fact that they outsourced 80 to 90% of their work, and their contracts were fixed bid. The contracts were not Agile. They could not control or have any influence over their contractors. And they outsourced to maybe 30 different contractors. So their outsourcing model constrained their agility. So now it's a business decision. Do we change? Do we outsource more so that we have more ability to influence and pivot? Or do we stick with this old model? So this becomes a business decision. It's not about Agile as a method. So.
And also referring to the culture aspects, it also is in place. There are differences between cultures in different countries. Like there are things which prevent from easy agile transformation, like inability to say yes, you know, or to tell the truth, power distance and things like this. To keep it short, you can Google for researches on the differences in between cultures. There's multiple researchers which amount of data analyzed, and they show for each nation different characteristics which classify it, and if you work cross countries, you should consider these aspects as well.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, guys, let's continue with our questions. We have Have you ever? Sorry, no, that's one. Have you how to behave when a team member starts burning out from the constant pressure from the client and sprint scope? I hope that's not the question from you again. It's like, we're doing great things, but then it turns out everyone is burned out.
The question is why they're pushing the scope, the team. Do they understand what's the end result of this? So is the team velocity is not good? Is I don't know, maybe they have no idea how the team works. So that we need a bit of the context. I need a bit of the context.
Yeah, maybe you can answer this question.
So in my life, most of the people start pushing the team with work because they have no idea how much work the team can do. There is the mental model in the old management, like, let's do a bit more, let's push a bit more, so they have a challenge.
Yeah.
That might be because of this, right? So you need to understand why the people do this, what's lying under.
Maybe Alexei can ask.
So can you a bit of
Yeah, the result comes easily. Yeah, well, it's maybe related to the leadership skills which you need to possess to be with the team, to stay with the team at this sort of moments, and to give them extra driver by showing that you support or you take care of together with them what you are doing. And of course, agree, as I mentioned, the Kamikaze project in Sprint, if you agree upon that it will get harder, then the amount of stress is at least lower, or some dramatic effects they appear later. Otherwise, there's a ton of methods how to fight with stress, how to relax, how to build trust, and how to build a team where you are all interested in success and you reach it no matter what. Giving up during the in the middle of something.
I would ask the Scrum Master why they're not protecting the team.
And maybe there is a question about transparency as well. Maybe clients expect something more than it's actually doable. Then they need to be, I think I'm quite well. Thank you. Maybe it's just a question what about communication between clients and the team.
Sure, ask the team.
Okay. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello. You want a question?
Yeah.
Hello. Hello, one. I think we are as that. Hello.
There's the last one about concept-free Agile method. Can you advise how to introduce Agile as some tools which a project manager or whoever now changes can use in the project team before the free Agile is? I'm really not sure about this question. Yaroslav, if you are here.
It's me.
Yeah?
Yes, I'm also here.
Please.
Okay.
Could you read?
My question is related in a big organization. It's a long process, yes. When we organize such teams, so it's sitting in one room, one board, and can work on it on a weekly basis or more often. But when we work, for example, in some projects team, and part of people work remotely, etc., so we don't see each other all the time. Anyhow, like a standard project, yes, you have some resources there. Can you advise some tools, yes, which we can use in such setup before such a group would be organized?
I think Alexei already mentioned like working with the distributed teams.
One simple one is turn on the video camera.
Trello, Office 365, Slack, OneNote, Goals, SharePoint. Yeah, fairly same.
So you need to make like digitalization of all the tools like you mentioned, we can use easily.
The thing here is that recently the tendency is that you need to have something which updates in real time and which you can edit simultaneously. And all these tools which we mentioned, it's like when anybody at any place make any change, you immediately see this change. and this is what important that you share immediate updates in between each other. So it's like a chat, but it's not a chat, it's a network of words or something. So maybe this is a key aspect, that you can work together simultaneously, and you can see what each one of you is doing.
Yeah. So I would just add, if you translate the Agile 1 to 3, you need to have one room, so it may be one chat, one board, it may be any online tool like Trello or any other tool you may find on the market, and you should continuously work through these tools with each other if you're sitting in the different locations.
Guys, we actually run out of time, but we
Thank you.
just
Don't worry.
want this part to be done.
Will they turn on the light?
The lights is the lights is a bit later, but yeah, they wanted us to leave like
Turn the lights out.
So so firstly, thanks for discussion.
Maybe someone has a question that was
Yeah.
written down.
Any questions?
We can gather them.
Evgeniy, I added a question, but I can see on the screen right now.
It got top voted at the voted.
Yeah,
I can answer the.
Top voted. What was your question?
My question related to the negotiation with client. Always clients told us that guys, we really enjoy Agile, we follow, we are fine with Agile. But who to do as Agile without retrospective, without planning, without all additional stuff? I would like to ask him.
That's somehow related to my question with about the huge cap.
No. Yeah, my question is maybe you may advise how to convince client that we can do Agile with retrospective.
It's the same question, like our team don't wanna skip plannings, retrospectives, daily stand-ups. That's happening because people don't see the value in these meetings. Show them the value. That's the only way you can manage this, right? So if they are not benefit from the retros, that means they don't understand how you improve the collaboration inside the team and outside the team using this meeting. If they are not enjoying the planning, they actually start pushing you to some more unpredictable. So do you want us to be more unpredictable, or like, do you want us to have a high level commitments or what? So start bringing them the understanding of the value behind the rituals. A lot of that in Scrum is actually built for building the new habits, continuous improvement, continuous collaboration, sitting together, right, working together. That's all about like pushing more value to the customer. So I believe that that's all you need to know. Start explaining why you are doing this. Most of the clients want to have the economy. You may ask, okay, you actually may calculate how much time you make as economy because you're making these events. You can show them the problems you fix it because of the retros.
Thank you. Also be creative. You need to do retrospective analysis, but it's not necessary to have it, to call it retrospective, or to have it on a regular basis, or whatever. Be agile.
That's how it starts.
But the thing is that actually what I wanted to highlight is a problem which I face sometimes when a team, for example, is waiting for the end of sprint to make a retrospective to analyze what went wrong instead of doing it immediately when they face an issue. And if you do it immediately, you don't need a retrospective meeting. You don't need much time. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't analyze problems, and even if your client don't allow you to have it as a separate event, if you have limited budget for this event, you as a manager or as a team, you need to reach the goal, and without learning on your mistakes, you can't reach it, no matter how you do it and how you follow it actually. And you better do it not on the after 2 weeks when you forget what was the problem actually.
Anything to it?
Okay. Did you answer?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, good. So, more questions? Okay, good. So, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks to our speakers for this discussion. yeah, so now it's a giveaway time, and yeah, the most pleasant part, I guess. So the first one is the certificate for training for basically the course that like consists of 2 courses, right? This
Yeah,
is
in June, we will gonna repeat the certification class for the same group, same place, right? So
just if you don't understand these like acronyms, it's certified Scrum Master and certified Scrum Product Owner. So these are 2 certifications that these 2 guys actually doing.
we suggest you to visit this class if you already have some Agile experience. Do not visit this class if you have no idea what is Agile about.
Yeah, and free your schedule basically for these 4 days.
We just given a very big discount if you buy
So
class.
it's can you go back? Yeah, so it's a 30% discount for this course, which is going to be held on the 10th to the 15th of June. And this is a giveaway. I think you can, or Stacia, you can decide who.
That's not a giveaway, that's a permanent discount. If you buy 2 classes, that's 30% permanent discount.
Ah, okay. So
it's not a giveaway. There is nothing to give away.
Ah, okay. But
that's discount for everyone. That's my 3 days.
But then
class.
we actually part with the giveaways. We have 3 presents.
Yeah, but I thought it's a den, no?
Huh?
It's a den, no?
Oh yeah, this is the end actually. Or you want to continue Yeah, so let's sort this out. So the first things first, we should give away some presents. And yeah, so there are 3 presents, right?
Yep.
And each of you will decide where you want this present to be given. So the first present, what it's going to be?
From Scrum Ukraine, all of you will get the 10% discount to anything you may find on our website. That's I Love Scrum, promo code for next month, given for you 10% discount for any class, anything. You just conferences, evening events, and this discount is actually summarizable with the discounts, with the points you may have if you visit our trainings. Yeah, so it's active for next month. You can give it to you, your friends. We are not limiting you. We will not check whether you participate or not.
And also we have 2 small presents.
Yeah, I think Stacia and Alexei will
Yeah,
decide,
Stacia and Alexei will decide.
Who asked the best questions.
Yeah.
Here this power band again.
Thank you. I always hate doing this because everybody had good questions. So thank you all for this. This was really great.
You can just set it.
Whoever gets first. But I like questions that make me ask questions. So I think your question was really great. Yes. Thank you.
Вспомнил?
That's fine. Every time.
I feel like there's a sort of guilt for the question which we didn't cover in full.
Oh yeah.
Like how to deal with clients asking fixed price and be agile in this situation.
We're still struggling with it.
Yeah, we need to have a special course for this sort of situation.
Well, first we need to figure it out ourselves. Yeah. So a few announcements also about that. So, and correct me if I'm wrong. So you did present the 10% discount for everyone, right? So
Yes.
So, and I think we can just share it also by email so that nobody needs to just shoot it on their phones. So also an announcement about the Sigma Software University. It's also we also have some courses. These are our directions that we have. So that's the QR code. You can check out our courses and you can you should just follow us on social media and our website so you can check out upcoming events that are coming. One of these events is actually the meetup of one of our managers, I guess. So this is a great event. Actually, she's a great speaker. She has a great track record. Very good question. So this is a meetup about recipes for IT business development in Israel. I'm not sure if it fits to the banking sector, but still,
Who knows?
You have this.
Maybe interesting since we touched the question of mentality today, so very fast.
Yeah. So I think that there is like some synergy can be found there because that's actually where we will also start working on this market, and it's very specific. So yeah, this is the end. I guess we don't have anything else.
Yes.
Yeah, then we can close the discussion. Again, thank you very much for this discussion.